Hello and welcome back to Rock Your Block and today's segment of Egyptian Secrets Wellness Zone. I'm Brynda Johnson, your holistic wellness host, and before we meet today's guest, our informed and curious audience, let me tell you that I am so grateful to be on this journey with you and to help support you and to take charge and to take power over your total wellness. After all, your health is your wealth. Today, we're going to talk about a newsworthy subject, women now in power. Or are they? My special guest today has been a historian buff for a long, long time, as well as someone who knows women quite well. So with his masculine perspective, I'd like to introduce Don Moragne of the Wealth Zone. Welcome to the Wellness Zone, Don.
Thank you, Brenda, for having me.
Now, we would like to take advantage of your expertise in that you have, once you learned about history and that some of the things in history were not as accurate as we learned in school, so you took it upon yourself to go back and study more in history. Now, what is your take on women now in power as it pertains to women in the older days, maybe even prehistoric times?
That's very interesting, and we love your topic today.
But since you love it so much, can you tell us who you are and a little about who you are and your take on this?
Great. I have a financial management firm, and the vast majority of our clients are women. And so women trust us with their businesses, with their finances, with their families, with their vision. And I like to think that they think we're in touch with our feminine side, but more importantly, that our perspective on their economics and the things that are important to them, our perspective is broad enough so that it encompasses what's important to them.
Okay, now how does that tie in with women now in power?
Well, it seems after the election, especially with Michelle Obama getting such visibility, that and the publicity that women really helped bring the new president back into office again, that there's a new resurgence of what's called women power.
Okay, now we're talking about today's time. Can we roll it back a little bit and talk about perhaps how this came about before Obama, Michelle, and we'll even talk a little bit about Hillary. But before they came into what I call power, what about the historian episodes of women in power?
Well, you know, the history is based upon who reads it. But if you look back, you'll find that in various times, mostly antiquity, in Europe, in the Middle East, in Asia, that women were extremely powerful. They were priestesses, they were warriors. They were very influential people in their societies and their cultures. And in many historical accounts, they actually led the societies that they lived in. You've heard of matriarchal societies? Like actually, those are the societies that are predominantly talked about in antiquity. And then we've always had resurgence of women. And so this is another one that the media is saying is starting to happen. But I think the important thing is that the women in the audience themselves have to believe that now is their time, or their time again, as the case may be, in order for them to actually reach what you're saying, in power or not.
And we do have examples and models of women way back when. Of course, my connection with Egypt is one, with Queen Cleopatra, and many others. And speaking of actually women who are warriors, we have Joan of Arc, who actually cut her hair off and dressed in her garb as a soldier, a warrior. And she went out just like the men with full power and fearlessness and conquered.
Sure. There are stories of women in Iran, the Middle East, Asia, just across the known world at that time, where women were extremely influential in politics, in religion, in economics, in war, and in making decisions. And women are still significant in this economy because if you realize it, about 80% of the spending decisions that are made across the United States are made by women in one form or another. And so whether or not they think they're in power, women do have a lot of power, and we together are going to make sure we explore that so that when this program is over, women have a different perspective on how important they are.
Now, do you think in the olden days, they also had this power when it comes to spending and controlling dollars? And of course, this is a wellness show, and we know that money has so much control over the general and the overall health and wellness of families, individuals. And what is your perspective on how women actually controlled finances in the olden days?
Well, you know, again, it varies based upon the historical readings that you're basing it on, but mostly women control the finances of their immediate family or the immediate culture. Today, women collectively control a significant portion of the flow of money in the United States and in the world. But in flow of money, I'm talking about the spending, the gross national product, the ability to consume and purchase goods.
Yeah, I was just thinking as you were talking that even back in the day when my grandpa died early in age, my grandmother had a farm and she took over the farmland, and I watched them, you know, go to the auction, and she was in total control of all that farmland. And as a young woman herself, she knew how to manipulate finances and how to take care of her health to continue. And of course, that land is still in the family today because of the power she incorporated in her maneuvers with money and land. And, well, you know, back in those days, they talked the fire out of my bottom when I bent over and touched the kerosene heater. She took me to a shaman, even they were called back in those days.
And still are.
Yeah, well, now, yeah, but I didn't know actually until this last weekend that they were called shamans. I thought they were called medicine people. But this woman actually talked the fire out of a severe burn that I had because we had worked in the farm all day and came in, and, you know, in those days we didn't have all the essentials that we had in the city. So I bent over and ouch, and there it was. But she had enough power within her. So I suppose in those days the women watched the men, and they would instill in their mentality what to do to control the finances in their life.
I assume they watch the men, but you know, women have always been strong. And if nobody tells you that you can't do anything, then you can do it. If someone tells you that you can do it, that's even more of an impetus. But I think women, not so necessarily in antiquity and history, but in the history of the United States, have been powerful because they've had to step up to the plate. The First and Second World War are example. Men went off to fight, they weren't there, and women left the homes in droves to go to the factories to make sure that things continued to grow. Unfortunately, when the men came back, they were relegated back to reluctantly back to their prior lot. But women are coming out, and the thing that's happening now is that media, which has portrayed women very poorly, is still trying to do that, but women are starting to think for themselves, both in the health vein, in the economic vein, the social vein, the political vein, and that's why having a show with this particular topic is so important, so I commend you.
Well, I think even before today, and I'm still back in the old days, because it started where we got our power really came from our ancestors. Women actually allowed men to go out and control. When, you know, we know today that the women really could take over and control everything, as they did way back when we talked about Cleopatra and the queens of England. they were controlling, and the men actually, even when there were kings, they would consult with the queen because she really had power over knowing, so to speak. Her intuition was stronger than the male side. So those things, those attributes in women led up until today, that you were talking about. But the women had the power a long time ago, and they were curt enough to sit back and allow the man to control everything, or at least he thought he
thinks he controls
was
everything,
controlling.
which is probably more the truth.
Well, it's okay.
Well, you know, having the ability to be born to give birth, to be born to be intuitive, you as a muse, being able to have such insight into people and intuitiveness and being able to help people without even being intrusive into where they are is extremely important. So I think women have that ability. What we have to do now is put them in a position where they're better off.
Well, that's easy. It's just that the men need to step back a minute.
Oh yeah, good luck with that one.
Well, you know, they did at one time. So I'm still, you know, if you look in history, whether it's a myth or whether it's truth, the men went out to hunt and the women took care of the village or the community while the men were out doing the weightlifting, so to speak. And somehow it got twisted.
I don't know when that happened, but still, now's the time for us to make women understand that they can change it.
Well, yeah.
Both economically and from a health and a wellness perspective.
Right. And of course that leads up to today's time. And before we go into modern times with women in power, and I believe that's not a question anymore,
Okay.
they really are, and we admit that they are. We'll take a short break, and we'll come back from a station break, and then we'll continue our discussion. Women in power, or are they? We'll be right back, folks. So stay tuned, relax, drop your shoulders, because there's more to come. We'll be right back.
Thanks for watching Rock Your Block.
Welcome back. Again, I'm Brynda Johnson, your holistic wellness host, and you're watching Rock Your Block and today's segment of Egyptian Secrets Wellness Zone. Prior to the break, we were discussing with our guest, Dawn Moragne, women gaining more and more powerful momentum, with Don again, with his knowledge and expertise in history, and he has a flair for knowing a lot about women. But now that we have come up to date, so to speak, we've figured out how women have come into power, and why do you think this is so necessary in today's times, that women portray the power they have and display it without feeling insecure about being a powerful woman?
Well, you and I discussed this from two perspectives. One, wellness, which is an integral part of what the Wellness Zone does, and also from economics, which again is an integral part of wellness. And the fact that women live longer, are in not necessarily the best health in these longer longevity years.
Let me break right there.
Please.
You mentioned women live longer than men. That has always been the case, but how much longer? Do you know how much longer women live?
Women live an average of between 12 and 20 years longer than men.
That's a bit much. I didn't want to let that just hang out there, which means that women must use their power to protect themselves in the future.
Yes.
When their husbands have left them, and now they're left with a burden. It could be a burden, and then if it's handled properly, then it doesn't have to be a burden.
Yeah. Well, there are two things. One, if you're living longer, you want to be healthier. And right now, according to certain studies, women, although they live longer, are in poorer health during that extended period of time, something that being in the wellness zone can help them change.
They're so sad.
That is sad. But also that presupposes that they're going to need more money available to them during that extended life period and during that extended health period for those medical costs. And because women earn less than men on an average, that means they have less time to build up cash and a smaller base on which to start. And so the second part of that discussion is economics in the wellness zone, teaching women how to handle money, how to stay healthier, so that when they are living longer, they're enjoying that longevity as opposed to being sick and ill.
Well, there are many ways that women can, men too for that matter, increase their longevity by taking their lifestyle, by taking better care of their health. In the olden days, I'm going to go reflect back, the lifespan was what, 40, 50, if they lived that long, maybe 60. But today, people are living, I think the lifespan has increased up to 90 years of age for women. And what accounts for the difference in the lifespan is, of course, nutrition. We're more concerned with getting minerals in the body, or vitamins, minerals, but especially minerals, because the minerals is what is absorbed in the vegetables when they're grown from the earth. And there's something new that I've discovered in the wellness zone, and it's a mineral or minerals that are angstrom size. When plants are growing, they're absorbing the minerals from the ground, which is why now organic vegetables are so much healthier, because they're rotating the crops, they're allowing the soil to rest without, there's actually no substance in the dirt today. They will grow the food, but the minerals are not there. So the angstrom
Because
size
they're using the soil.
Minerals are absorbed. Now you can get those in liquid form. The reason I'm mentioning this is because one of my clients recently said they had a plant that was dying, and they decided not to take their angstrom-sized minerals anymore, and they poured it out in the plant. Can you imagine what happened?
Yeah, obviously the plant got nutrition and began to grow again.
Yes, it did. And I said, oh, it was too bad we didn't take pictures of that, because who would believe it?
That's good to know.
Yes, it is good to know. So there are many things, which is why we're mentioning it now, if people are not familiar with liquid angstrom-sized minerals, because your body, you know, the cells die every day, but every day you're getting new cells. And the foods that you're putting in the body will create the strength of that cell, either a strong cell or a weak cell, or the cells continue to die. So it's real important what you're putting in the body. And now women, you know, if you're going to live a lot longer after your spouse leaves you, then it's now time to take better care of the health. We can see Hillary, for example. She is a very powerful woman.
She is. But
yet recently her health has taken a toll on her. Whether they admit it, you can see it. So sometimes we're so eager to show our power, we still must take good care of the body.
Absolutely. And women make better choices about their health, their food, and their lifestyle than men do. But again, it has to be a conscious effort. It has to be an educated and learned effort, like you're doing in the wellness zone, that brings women to the point where they take care of themselves now, so that when they're living longer, they're living a better quality of life, and they are not medically in need.
True, that's why insurance plays a part, as well as, I don't know if folks are noticing the chemtrails in the sky. Today, the sky is blue with white, fluffy, beautiful clouds, but it's because we've had rain and wind, and it's blown all those chemicals out of the sky. Folks tell me they haven't noticed, and I don't know how they've not noticed, but when the sky looks weird, it's because barium and mercury and all these things are dropping on us. You look at your car, if it's parked outside, there's like a white fuzz on the car. And that's falling on the soil, it's falling in the water, it's falling on us. We're breathing it.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yes, so we need to strengthen the body to ward off the damage that these chemicals that we're breathing in are causing in the body. In fact, we're in the area of the District of Columbia. If we do research, we'll find that even colon cancer leads the nation in this horrible disease. And why is that? Chemtrails? I can't tell you. Is it because people in the area are not eating properly? Is it because of stress? And we know how stress takes a toll on the body. And so we must take action to help the body sustain itself from, you know, the medicines. People watch commercials now, and it used to be one commercial at a time. Now it's 4 or 5 commercials, and a lot of them have to do with what?
I don't know what.
Medicine.
Medicine, okay.
I think people go to the doctor and say, I saw this medicine on the news, on the commercial.
And I've got to have it, right?
Yeah.
That's probably true.
Yeah.
That's probably true. But you know, when the Wellness Zone interacts with women and educates women about the ability for them to take control of their own health now so that they live better lives and longer lives in the future, I think that's extremely important. So the purpose of this show is one that I think is long overdue, but two, if the audience actually interacts with you and begins to absorb the information that you've got, can help every single woman out there become more powerful.
Well, that's what we tell folks at the end of each show here. This is their show, and if people are asking for subject matter, we will bring it, because when we talk about holistic health, that includes all areas of your life. The financial piece and the health piece, and of course the spiritual piece and the mental emotional piece. So whatever our folks are asking on Rock Your Block, we will give it to them, because lack of education is what can also kill you. But because you mentioned the chemtrails, lots of people have never noticed the sky. You go out today again and it's beautiful, it's blue. How often do you notice we have a blue sky? It's not that often.
You know, so people are so busy commuting that they don't have time to look at the sky.
True, true. That's absolutely right. So we have to know how to balance our lives and can take the control. The men are now, the egos are, they're either the men are going nuts or they're allowing women to take control. Look at Bubba. He's allowing Hillary to do her thing. And Michelle is not taking control, but she has a power within her own right. Women are dressing like her. They're trying to emulate the way she looks. And that's a power within itself.
That's a power, and that's a form of control. And women always have the ability to persuade, probably at a greater capacity than men do. The media has continued to make women think that they don't have those abilities and those powers.
Absolutely.
And as soon as they stop listening to the media and start listening to experts like you, I think that things will start to change around, because women's mindsets will let them know that they are powerful.
You don't want me to start talking about the media.
I don't.
No,
I don't think the media does either.
No, they are so controlling. You know, the commercials, again, used to be maybe 1 minute long. I think, what are they up to, 3, 4, 5 minutes now? And it's buy this, buy that, and it has subliminal messages attached. And the next thing a person knows, they're running down to McDonald's, buying unhealthy food. McDonald's will not even tell you what you're eating. If we had someone that had left a bag of McDonald's food in the car for a month. It didn't go bad. It didn't spoil. The bread was hard, but the food was okay. So what does that tell you about what we're eating?
That it wasn't okay in the first place.
It was not okay.
Right.
So we must take better care of our health, our bodies, and of course the financial piece as well, so that women, especially you women, so that we can, when the time is now, we can step up to the plate and grab the reins of the horse, the tractor, or whatever we're driving to increase the economy, our health of ourselves and our children, our loved ones. So let's do that, folks. And we thank you, Don Moragne, for joining us and allowing us your male perspective on women in power.
Thank you.
And we thank you. And folks, please join us again. Our time is about up, and we want to thank you for watching Rock Your Block and this segment of Egyptian Secrets Wellness Zone. We especially want to thank our awesome guest. You are indeed awesome, Don.
Thank you.
And we want to ask our audience if they would please have a discussion with us to find out what's on your mind. Write us, let us know what you would like to talk about. And I'd like to leave with this message. Each morning, when we're blessed to wake up, let's decide to show gratitude to our Creator and honor the perfections of women emerging rightfully. And that's my acronym for POWER. You folks know I have an acronym every week, so POWER it is. And thank you so much for watching. Continue to send those emails in. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.